Welcome to Saugeen EDC, the local edge, where we're working in partnership for our community's future. I'm your host, Rose Austin. Join me as we talk with the people, partners, and businesses driving growth and innovation across our region. Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of The Local Edge. My name is Rose Austin, and I am here once again with Jamie Doherty, our business community counselor. And today we're going to talk about why loan applications get declined. So Jamie, I'm going to let you just start from when you start speaking with a client, what it is you ask of them or from them, and at what point does a client get stalled, or at what point do you have to maybe sometimes do a little bit more hand holding to get them through to the final application?
Yeah. I guess then what I'll do is I'll just start from scratch with a new business, and because there's two different clients that we've got, obviously an existing business or a new business. So an inquiry would come in from a new business, let's say. Right away, we just want to ask a few questions over the phone to see where they're at with their idea of this business. Once I determine that that position they're at with the new business, then we can kind of guide them through the process. And typically, when I'm guiding a new inquiry for a loan through the process, I begin with, do you have a business plan? So that's the first thing I will always ask. And in the past, it used to be, no, I don't have a business plan, but I have everything in my head. And so it would be, okay, well, we're going to need and we're going to require you to put that all down on paper. And that would be where we would have the delay. The stall, if you want to call that, in the process would be with the business plan.
It can be a daunting task,
It
though.
can be.
You know, I mean, people have it in their head. They know what they want to do, but not everybody can put pen to paper.
Exactly.
And in the past, we've had all kinds of templates. We've held all kinds of training seminars for how to write a business plan, how to make your business plan, stand out from other business plans. So I know that's usually where it stalls. A lot of people they have a hard time putting the pen to paper. And sometimes they think it's such a daunting task. Like, I have always said to people, it doesn't have to be a novel. It just has to give us the information. We need some history. We need to know where you're at, where you want to go. And these are the types of things we need to know. So how do you handle that?
So exactly. So I would typically ask them again where they're at with a business plan. If they state that they haven't started one, that they don't know how to put one together, that's where you would then refer to either our SEDC business plan guide that would specifically show them what we look for in a business plan, or to our Dr. Google or our search engines where they could look up a template for a business plan. Now, with the inception of AI, or the introduction of AI now, it's made it a lot easier for people to create a business plan specific to that business. And I have been lately, in the past 6 months for sure, suggesting that people use AI to create a business plan. But as we have discussed in the past, or just recently, that AI isn't perfect in putting a business plan together. And I always do recommend, if you're going to use AI, that you obviously go through the whole plan and inject specific things that are, to do with your business, and create the spelling mistakes that I just found out that AI does have. But yeah, so.
Yeah. And AI doesn't have that human component, right? So it doesn't show the passion, right? It's very factual, very to the point. Whereas if someone is extremely passionate about starting a business or expanding whatever it is they're planning on doing to their already existing business, that passion comes through.
Hmm.
in the writing, but also when you're talking to them, right?
For sure.
But you need to see that passion and
Hmm.
that commitment is there.
Hmm. And good point.
Yeah.
I always say that we want to make sure that you've put some thought into it, that you have this idea in your head or on napkins that you've written on. And we just want to understand that you understand what goal you're trying to achieve with this business plan. That it fully explains what the business is going to be.
Hmm.
Not necessarily that it's going to produce X amount of dollars per month and it's going to be the biggest and best of all, ever, but that you specifically understand what your business is trying to achieve.
Absolutely. And a business plan is an always evolving document.
Mm-hmm.
So you might write one at the very beginning of starting your business. And as you go through your business, 6 months in, a year and a half in, your business changes, the economy changes, maybe your clientele changes, maybe you change your
Yeah,
thought process,
yeah,
right? So a business plan is always evolving,
exactly.
it's always changing. I always tell people, you write a business plan for 1 to 3 years. Some people will go 5 years. Is that necessary? I guess it depends on the type of business.
Right.
But I always say you should always sit down on a quarterly basis and A, look at your financial statements, and B, look at your business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Take a couple of hours, understand your statements, know where they're going, where they came from, what they're showing you, and then look at your business plan. Do they jive? Is there something that needs to be adjusted?
Mm-hmm.
Go from
Exactly.
that. But it is a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a document for you to follow, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
for a short period of time or sometimes even longer.
Yeah. So again, the business plan was the typical stall point for the loan process that we would see. Moving past the business plan, uh, we would then get into a checklist of what we require with a loan application. So once you fill out the loan application, sometimes we would stall on the personal financial statement. So digging into personal financial statement, sometimes we find that there's been liabilities left off that statement. And so it's very important that we get a fully completed loan application that has their liabilities and their assets in there. Once we're past that stage, then I think the biggest part we see with an existing business is that the forwardness or the next step from the applicant to fully say, okay, I'm ready to apply to this loan for whatever reason, being it maybe work,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not sure if they could commit to this business idea yet, or that they're scared to put both feet in. So the delay in the loan application coming to our desk can be from those points too.
Cold feet.
Yeah, cold feet,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. But with a business plan, right, they have to send in cash flow projections.
Right.
So sometimes I used to find that there was the cash flow projections were lacking, or they were extremely energetic in the revenues and not so much
Right.
in
Right.
the expenditures, right?
Yeah.
So, you have to sit down with the client and you have to say, hey, like, let's look at this realistically and
Right.
let's be conservative.
Yeah.
I always advise people to be conservative in their revenues and go higher in their expenditures and look to see what your bottom line is.
Break even. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can break even in your projections, that's probably a really good first time projection to bring in with a business plan.
Right.
And then the next year you show growth, right, in your revenues and a little growth in your expenditures too. Everything goes up, right?
Exactly.
Everything goes up.
Yeah, that's a good point. With the business plan, there will be a section in a business plan, titled financials,
Mhm.
right? And typically you don't find a lot of information in there.
Right.
Or to be, I'm going to make 10,000 this month and 10,000 the next. So when we talk about the reports, and if they understand what the profit and loss statement is, or if they've ever used Excel and used a sales and expense sheet through Excel, that would determine what level of experience they have. And 9 times out of 10 they don't have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we would then walk them through that process, and I would say to them, I would email them our template through Excel to them. That is a sales and expense, but I'll also walk them through, this is what it looks like. Either set up a meeting or just talk about it over the phone.
I've found too, though, that even clients that have started their business, and they could be 1, 2, sometimes even 3 years into their business, their financial statements are not kept, right? Maybe it's a lack of understanding. Maybe they don't like to do bookkeeping. They're passionate about operating their business. They're passionate about every aspect of their business with the exception of bookkeeping. So always say it's very, very important, right? Even if you have to pay somebody to do your books for you,
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you hate doing bookkeeping, if that's one part of your business you hate doing, then get a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
But make sure you understand your financial statements. You have to know where your revenues are coming from. You have to know where your money is going.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know, okay, so am I projecting these right? Have I priced my services or my product high enough because my bottom line is negative instead of a positive?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I have to adjust some of my spending?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you really need to understand those financial statements. Yeah. I find it's a very important part of
the health of the business.
Right. And not just people who are starting a business don't understand. People who are already in business sometimes
Mm-hmm.
don't understand that aspect.
And what we'll find too with people already in business that have hired someone or passed that job on to a bookkeeper, or just to give it to their accountant, coming back to the bookkeeper thing, sometimes that relationship breaks down. Mm-hmm. and then the bookkeeper that was hired wasn't really putting the time in to keep up with the reports as required. So it's always good for a business owner to understand financial statements and the reports and how they read. Mm-hmm. and what they mean. It's very important for the health of the business,
yes,
but also the health of that business owner.
Absolutely.
Right. And then B, to make sure that if they do understand it, to make sure that their bookkeeper is understanding it and understands their needs and what they are looking to accomplish, like as a goal for the business.
Because a lot of times that's one of the requirements that we have when we lend money, right? Is we like to see your financial statements on a quarterly basis. Sometimes if it's a new startup and we know that bookkeeping is not their strength, we'll ask to see them monthly. Not because we're nosy and we want to know, what your business is doing. It's because we want to be able to assist you. If we see that there's a red flag, like maybe you aren't pricing your product or your service high enough, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you are overspending in something that we could say, hey, did you know you can do this over here or cheaper this way or whatever?
Yeah.
So we do ask sometimes new startups to see monthly statements. That changes after they've been with us for a while, but it's to assist.
Yes.
Quarterly statements, always, same reason, to assist.
Yes.
And there are some businesses where we only ask for your annual statements because they've been around for a long time. We know that they know what they're doing, and there's no need for us. They have advisors. They have the financial capability in understanding the statements, and they have bookkeepers on staff.
Right.
But it isn't because we're nosy. It's just because we want to assist you if we can, because we want you to succeed.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So sometimes people, when you were talking about the loan application, sometimes people don't want to put down all of their liabilities, right? Because they think, oh, I've overextended myself, or this isn't going to look bad, or, I'm not going to get accepted or approved. I'm going to
Correct.
get turned down. But sometimes if you have poor credit, there's an explainable reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, we always speak to the client to find out, okay, so this happened. Shit happens in
Exactly.
everybody's life. So if you have a plausible, explainable reason why this happened, we go, okay,
Mm-hmm.
understandable. We understand that. We
Exactly.
understand
Yep.
stuff happens. Divorce happens, death happens. There
Loss of
are
income.
loss of income. There's so many things that
Mm-hmm.
happen that can be why.
Mm-hmm.
We run credit checks on our clients,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't put that much emphasis
On the beacon
on
score.
on
Yeah.
the score,
Mm-hmm.
right? We look much more closely at the business plan, right? The cash flow projections, are they realistic? Is this person passionate about what they are
Mm-hmm.
doing or what they want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have a good understanding? Is their family supporting them? Because that's a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your family isn't supporting you and starting your own business,
Mm-hmm.
you probably shouldn't be doing it, because you think you're going to be working 40 hours a week. No, no, you're going to be working a hell of a lot longer than that, right?
24/7.
Right. So you have to have the support of your family
Exactly.
or your partner or your husband, your wife,
Yeah.
whatever. You have to have that support. They have to understand that your time has to be devoted, not 100%, but it has to be devoted to your business as well to get it
Yeah.
going. So,
Yeah. And then it's all dependent on the sophistication of the business too.
absolutely.
And when an application or an applicant calls in and is inquiring, and we get through to the portion of where are you going to operate this business? Because the business obviously has to operate in our catchment area of our 10 municipal partners,
Mm-hmm.
but also where are you going to operate this business? So what comes up is, well, I'm going to lease commercial space. Okay, great. What's that commercial lease look like? Oh, I just had a verbal agreement. So then we get into the nuts and bolts of a commercial lease. And more than likely we find out that they're going to be paying a lot of their revenue towards that expense. And so bringing that into the picture sometimes gets that applicant to rethink how this is going to look at the end of the month, when the first thing that comes off the books or off their revenue would be a very high expense for
Right.
leasing of
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, they have to understand every single
Yeah.
aspect, right, of where their money goes. So some of the types of businesses that we have financed in the past, can you just, not the names, of course, because everything we do is confidential, but I mean the sectors.
Yeah. We've been heavily into retail sectors of late. I guess, the service industry, where there's a lot of customer service going on. We're across the board on a lot of different sectors, but I'm just thinking of the last couple months of some of the loans we dispersed. We're getting into manufacturing. We're getting into production. Definitely getting into marketing, digital marketing. What else? We're looking at a lot of hospitality.
Well, it's a well-known fact, right?
Yeah.
There are certain sectors that the banks don't like to fund, and not all the time, but it depends on the economy and how the economy is going. So there are a lot of hospitality. They don't like to look at that as much. There could be some service industries they do not like to fund as much or as much as they have in the past due to the
Volatility.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we will see a lot of those
Mhm.
businesses come to us,
Mhm.
right? And as long as they have what we've said, all along, we definitely will look at we will look at any loan that basically comes across
For sure.
your desk, my desk,
We do.
whatever.
We look at all
Every
the
single
loans.
one.
Yeah.
And so by going through this process with the client, with kind of in some cases hand holding throughout the process, garnering all the documentation that we need in order to basically what we do is we rewrite the business plan, so to
Mhm.
speak.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to adjust the cash flow projections because it may be a little out of whack. But we get it to a certain point where it is then presented to our board of directors.
Mhm.
And our board of directors always have the final say as to whether this loan is approved or not,
Mhm.
and in what capacity. So
Mhm.
we recommend to approve it or not. We recommend the terms and conditions that we would put on this loan. That's not always how it works out.
No.
So the board of directors will then sometimes change the terms and conditions based on their expertise, their knowledge within that sector, and sometimes not. Sometimes they just take our recommendations verbatim,
Mhm.
but sometimes they do change them.
Mhm.
They do have the final say.
Right. So
And
with the end result, that's not where our job ends,
no.
though. Meaning, if a board decides that we approve a loan, then the real work begins.
Mm-hmm.
But going back, I guess, to that initial process, with an existing business, it's a little different than a new business. With existing businesses, you tend to get that experienced business owner, of course, that perhaps already had a business plan put together because they've already borrowed money from a lending institution. So all they have to do is revamp it or bring it up to speed. And then we get through those hurdles real quickly. Business plan, if it's dependent on what the loan is for, if it's expansion, let's say, well, what does that expansion do for the revenue of the business? Well, we want to see that projected or that projection then. And so it's usually easy to get those things from an existing business. However, going back to our financial reports issues, it's the opposite when it comes to an existing business and their up-to-date financial reports. It seems to always be, are always behind in having up-to-date financial
Because they
reports.
don't like doing it.
Exactly.
Nobody
Well, they're
likes
busy
doing it.
working in the business.
Absolutely.
And that is the last thing that usually gets done. If they
Yes.
don't have a team put together, a good professional team put together, meaning bookkeeper and accountant, that's the last thing they look at.
Right.
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 Mm.
So you said something there that maybe we should elaborate on a little bit. So if it's an existing business and they already have a loan
Mm-hmm.
with a bank or a credit union or grandma,
Right.
right?
Private.
Yeah, they already have a loan, but they're diversifying or they're expanding or even maintaining. Maybe something happened and they need a little bit more cash to get through a hurdle, whatever the case may be. So we look at that, all the same aspects that we've already mentioned. But what happens when we approve it based under certain terms and conditions, and then the client goes, "Oh, well, my bank said that I can't take it anymore. I can't take another loan out."
Mm-hmm.
Or the bank's in first position, but we're going to be lending more money than what the bank is currently owned. So we'd like to be in first position. What happens then?
Well, like we said, we're the flexible lender. So we do brainstorm and come up with very unorthodox ways to get around certain things. However, what we look at first is, working with those lenders in a partnership where we can postpone position to fall into second place behind a first place lender. Um, Getting into the nitty gritty of all that tends to be done through lawyers as well, right? However, we determine it in house what position we want to fall in, or what other alternative ways we can get around these situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find, my past coming out of the banking system, I find it very rewarding and very, I guess, um, it's a fun way to build a lending product or lend to a business by coming up with strategic ways to do it. I just find that's very exciting and rewarding
Mm-hmm.
to be able to help a business that needs that type of a lending partner.
Yes, and our board feels that way too, right?
Exactly.
Like small and medium-sized businesses, they're the backbone of any small community, or sometimes even urban centers, right? Like we need to have those businesses. We have to have those services. We have to have those businesses have to be maintained here. They have to grow here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're missing a lot of different types of businesses in our communities that we need. Like how long does it take to find an electrician, a contractor, a plumber,
Mm-hmm.
there's ton. Can you find a handyman anywhere? It's like sometimes those are few and far between. So when they come to us with businesses that we know are absolutely required in our communities, we work with that client to make sure that they understand, here's how you need to operate your business in order to get that approval, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you need to do to get that approval. I would say that probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but probably 10, maybe 15% of the loans that we take before our board get declined, right? And I've never
Mm-hmm.
actually had a board member say, no, we're not doing that. It's always, oh, maybe they need to think about changing this up, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
they should look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you talk to them about that? See if that's in their wheelhouse. See if that's something they're open to. And if it is, then come back and we'll
Exactly.
look at it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever said no, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times what will happen is because we are a high risk lender, we do take higher risks, and our security is usually much less than a bank because we usually come in behind them. As you said,
Mm-hmm.
we'll take a second position. Sometimes we take a third
Third.
position, right? So our terms and conditions may be a little bit more, our interest rate may be a little higher, our terms may be a little shorter, but we are always extremely flexible. When we do all of that work, we get approval from the board, we go back to the client and we say, okay, your loan's been approved in this amount. Here are the terms and conditions. Sometimes the clients go, oh, no, there's no way we can do that. So they withdraw their
Right.
application.
Right.
Maybe they wanted 50,000, but we're only willing to approve 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they wanted it to be paid out over 10 years and we've only agreed to 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were hoping to have, a 7% interest rate and we're charging them 9,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
So,
good point, because in the initial start of the conversation, we always suggest to reach out to their local bank or the
mhm,
bank that the bank at,
first.
or do they have any family members that would be willing to help them get launched or
Mhm,
support them in the situation they're in? Yeah, that's the first thing we always ask, and sometimes that's why
mhm.
they withdraw from their loan application. Yeah.
And other times it's because we've done all of this work.
I know what you're
We've
gonna
written
say.
the terms and conditions. We've presented it to them and they take it to their bank. And they
Exactly.
went, oh, hey, Look at what SEDC can do for
Yeah.
us. Can you match that? The bank
Yeah.
will go, they'll do their due diligence and they'll go, yeah, we could do that. We could
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So that has happened to us in the past as well,
Exactly.
right? But that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because as far as we're concerned, that's a success for us
Exactly.
because that business is still opening. It's still or expanding, diversifying, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
or they're getting the help they need, right?
Exactly.
So that's okay with us. We don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Um, to us, that's great
Right.
if we can help somebody. We have clients that have been with us for 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 years.
So that's the other side of it, where we do talk to our bank partners, our lending partners, and we have sat down at tables with them, had those conversations that we love working with our partners in the banking world and in the lending world, and we're always open to work with our partners, Business Development Canada, and all the financial institutes. However, it's not always reciprocated back to us that way. But in saying that, what you were just mentioning, we've also found that through our process of offering a loan to a client where they see that our interest rates are a little higher and the lending payback is a little bit more than what they expected, sometimes they don't even launch the business based off that.
Yes, that's
They've
true.
determined that they can't make it feasible
Right.
at that stage.
And that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to know that right off the hop.
Exactly.
Right? Like
that you're not getting in over your head and
right.
you're going to be underwater and not be able to have a successful launch. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for us, we like to see passionate business plans that you know what you're talking about, that you have a plan. It doesn't have to be stringent. Doesn't have to be a novel.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
No, it's just we want to see this is what we want to do. This is why we want to do it. This is where we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to do it with realistic cash flow projections.
That you understand the profit and loss statement, or you understand your
balance
sales
sheet
and your expenses and how they're going to look.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're an existing business, the same thing. We just want to see the same thing. And a loan application?
Full, complete.
We need to know that you are not trying to hide anything, right? That's always a red flag when somebody tries to hide something. And then you go back to them and you say, oh, we did a credit check and it says that you have a debt with so-and-so. Oh, is that still on there? Sometimes that happens.
It does.
It hasn't been discharged.
And it's honest.
And yeah. So, that happens. But other times it's like, oh, I forgot about that. Or I was kind of hesitant to put it on there but we need to know all of those things because they will come out in our due diligence. If we don't find them, and if we're using a solicitor, they will find them. And then that can cause a slowdown in the process, right? So, we are open for business. We're willing to assist any entrepreneur in any capacity at any stage throughout the program or throughout the process, as long as their business or their head office is within our catchment area. And we will partner with a bank, a credit union. If you need more money than what we are capable of lending to you, we will help you find another partner as well. If your business plan shows us all of those aspects, we'll help you find another partner.
Yeah.
We know lots of them.
Exactly.
So we may not just have a neighboring community futures office. We may have private people that we know that are looking to invest, and they may come on board, right? Or there could be another opportunity, like another funder out there that we are aware of. We've been around for 40 years. We're in our 40th year, right? There's still tons of people out there that don't know what we do, right? They still don't know exactly what it is we do, why we're here, and how we can help. So by doing this podcast, hopefully people will get to know who we are and why we're here and how we can help.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I was gonna mention that what we've talked about up to this point kind of shows that it's not SEDC that turns down the loans. It's usually the client
That's true.
that either walks away or figures out that the loan isn't what they need at this time.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
does happen. It does happen.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me.
No problem.
And please, 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 if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this podcast, if you have any questions, call him. No. Call our office. We'll be more than happy to help you. If you're even thinking about starting a business, we can talk to you about
For
it.
sure.
We can help you to realize your goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you succeed, we succeed.
Exactly. And one thing we should mention, we've both been business owners.
Yes,
We understand
yes.
business
Yes,
through and
we do.
through.
Yep.
And we can relate easy
Yes.
to any type of business inquiry
Yes.
and be able to advise very easily
Absolutely.
based on our experience, but more so on your 35, 6, 7 year of doing this work for the community.
And it's the whole entire time's been rewarding. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. So thank you. Call us
Thank
for
you.
any reason. We're here. We're not available 24/7, but we are available 9 to 5. Our office is in Newstead. And Jamie could be available 24/7 though. He could be. He might be.
All depends.
Thank you very much. Thanks for listening to The Local Edge, brought to you by Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, working in partnership for our community's future. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of collaboration, resilience, and success across our local communities.